Hey, John Ty here, and welcome to the Self-Publishing Summit. Our guest today is a #1 Amazon bestselling author of multiple books on diet and weight loss. He's also the co-founder of Archangel Ink, a publishing service for self-published authors. And he's the founder of Buck Books, a very successful website where people can grab discount Kindle books for less than $1. He also has a powerful online alter ego, but I'll leave that to him to decide whether he tells you about that. I don't want to get myself into trouble here. So you never know what could happen to me. Our guest today, Matt Stone. Matt, welcome to the Self-Publishing Summit.
Hey, thanks, John Ty, the tiger. Hey, good to be with you, man.
Good. So great to have you on. So just as you're watching this, Matt hasn't got a video connection, so I'm afraid you're just going to have to watch me, which means I'm going to have to be on best behavior during the interview. So Matt, great to have you on. You've done a bunch of stuff. I mean, there's all sorts of things going on, but let's start by having you talk to us a little bit about how you got into the publishing first and your initial publishing success. We'll go from there.
Well, sure. Well, just to clear up any confusion and let the cat out of the bag, I am indeed buck flogging. And I find that I'm being buck flogging a lot more frequently than I'm being Matt Stone of late. There's something about Buck that's much better than my true self, and people on the internet seem to like him more. I don't know what that is. It's giving me some kind of complex. But anyway, yeah. To go back and what's that?
Do you have a costume?
I need to get one. I need to get one. So it's a big S on the chest. But yeah, there's
the whole.
To get into my story and go back in time a little bit, I went to school for writing, and I thought, I love writing. I'm going to change the world with the written word, and so I went to school for writing, and I declared that as my major, graduated. And in the process of doing that, we had to come up with a senior project, and the senior project that I did ended up becoming a published book. So I was really interested in the process. I knew about writing, and we took all these writing classes, blah, blah, blah. But every time I asked my professors, well, yeah, but like, how do you have a living as a writer? And I would get this deer in the headlights look, obviously, because if they're teaching writing at a university, they didn't figure out how to make money off of the writing other than to teach others how to do it. Yeah. So they didn't really know. And so anyway, I sought it out myself, and I talked to a local small publisher and actually waltzed in there in person and introduced myself and the whole 9 yards. Ended up getting a publishing contract. Published that book. I thought I was going to be world famous, and I think I've gotten about $300 in royalties since that was published over a decade ago. So anyway, that's the story.
$30 a year recurring income.
Yeah, that's the story there. So I entered the wonderful field of the culinary arts to support myself, as many aspiring writers often end up saying, do you want fries with that? I didn't have to say, do you want fries with that, but close. And so I kind of let my dream of being an author just kind of fall by the wayside a little bit until 2006 came along, and met a guy, and he said, hey man, you're a good writer. You should think about starting a blog. And I said, what the heck is a blog? And I was very electronically illiterate and didn't really know what I was doing, but I started a blog and started piddling around with that. And I wrote and wrote and wrote for a couple years. And it took me 2 years just to figure out how to put an image in my blog post. I was so illiterate. And I would just focus on writing because that's what I really enjoy. That's what I wanted to do. And I started to garner a little bit of a following. By 2009, I launched a business and decided to sell my first ebook, PDF download, available for $19.95 on my website. And I didn't even have a book cover for it. I mean, really, really, John, it was my unprofessionalism knew no bounds. And I call myself all the time. I refer to myself as being an unlikely entrepreneur because you just can't dream up somebody with less entrepreneurial knowledge or know-how. That's where I was when I began. Even my dad had to set up everything for me. He set up the business and the business bank account and got a website designed for me. And I was a complete noob and a complete fool. And the fact that I ended up turning that into a great success
Yeah.
is remarkable.
Well, it's great for, you know, if anybody's listening and they see themselves that way, it's good to know that you turn it around. And I know we touched on some of the success you were having just before we came on air. So yeah.
Yeah, so I became an accidental entrepreneur, and I garnered such a huge following that, and such a loyal following, which is also very important. Maybe we'll get a chance to touch on that in the future. It's not the size of your following, it's the quality of that following. I garnered such a quality following that when I went and finally launched my first book on Amazon, it just exploded, and I did really well. And that book just crushed it. I was in the top 100, I think. Made something like $20,000 my first month on Kindle, which for a self-published author was pretty, it got some attention, let's say. And it established me as a reputable authority on being a successful author in the nonfiction space, because I'd done.
I would say so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So anyway, I published some more books, did quite well, and I just got tired of doing what I'd been doing. I lost interest in health and nutrition. It wasn't something that I was interested in pursuing anymore, and so I decided to do something different. And the next logical step was to start a publishing entity with my partner Rob, who'd helped me out with a lot of my Kindle publishing and other things that we've done in the past. And here we are, just a year and a half after we started that publishing entity, and we're heavily in the thick of it. We have Buck Books, which is a book promotion component, and that's already the second largest book promotion entity in the world. So, I mean, it's just happening so fast, and there's this crazy Kindle gold rush. Everybody's wanting to figure out how they too can become a writer and work from their pajamas, which I'm still wearing at 2:10 p.m. Eastern time, where I'm at. So anyway, that's sort of the short version of A to Z of where I've gone from the beginning to now. But now I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship, internet business, and I seem to be able to start successful enterprises online pretty easily and get them to a level of success pretty quickly. And that's it's just so funny to think about, because I was so clueless when I began.
As I say, that's great news for anybody starting out who really is feeling unsure about where to get started and where to take this. And I just want to recap, because I think it's great that you've published multiple books. How many books have you got now that are actually out in your name?
I think there's about 15 out right now. I've unpublished 6 or 7 as well. So I've really put out a lot of content. I have several books under Buck Flogging, and I'm working on writing some right now, some Buck Flogging books. I've got one book I published under MF Stone, and then I've got a bunch of books published under Matt Stone.
Okay. But, so you got multiple books that have been successful, very successful. I mean, 20,000 in the first month is huge. Aren't too many mainstream authors, mainstream published authors who have that kind of success straight out of the gate. You've also been doing tremendously well with Archangel Ink, helping a lot of other people. And, I know Buck Books has been going from strength to strength. So yeah, we're going to sort of broaden this out, but just sticking on, the businesses that you've built, tell us a little bit about Archangel Ink and what that does, and then maybe we can segue into Buck Books and how that ties in with the book promotion side of things.
Well, like I said, I'm not a technical guy at all. And so, when I had my main website, 180degreehealth.com, going in full force, I brought a guy on, Rob Archangel, and I said, and that's really his name. He doesn't have a fake name like I do. But Rob Archangel, he helped me figure out how to get my stuff on Amazon. And all I did was say, hey, here's what we're doing. You know this site. You've known me for a couple of years. How do we get this message out? How do we sell more books? How do we have more success? And he suggested, hey, let's try Amazon. So we tried it. And so he did everything. He took manuscripts that I'd already written that were just in Word documents and turned those into books that we put on Amazon that got over 100 reviews in the first month, and bestseller list all over the place. And like I said, all this money I was bringing in at the time. And to me, that was just an incredible service. And he went on to figure out how to put the books into print on demand paperback format. and we got physical books out there. Then we learned how to do audiobooks. We even have a couple of translations now. So what I told Rob, I said, Rob, this is just an incredible service for authors. For me to be able to take, I mean, all I want to do is write. So for me to be able to take a manuscript in a Word document and fire it over to you as an email attachment, and to have you turn it into a book in multiple formats and everything is just an incredible service. It allows me to focus on my writing and you know, outsource all the other stuff to somebody who's better equipped and more experienced to be able to do that. So I said, man, you really got to offer this as a service. It's very valuable. And instead of, you know, us trying to sell these $10 ebooks and making a living like that, you know, you could be, you know, doing these very valuable services for people and making thousands of dollars to help other people make tens of thousands of dollars. And so he was into the idea, and we developed it together and launched it. And it's just been a crazy ride ever since. We published over 100 books. And it's been less than a year since we started publishing books with the royalty.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And I think one of the takeaways out of that is, you can see I'm just writing notes here as you're talking, is that repurposing that content. So the Kindle book also becomes a print on demand physical book. It also becomes an audio book, and then you get the translations. So you're getting four goes with the same piece of content, which is great, and 4 royalty streams.
Right. And you can translate a book into more than one other language too. I mean, potentially you could have it translated into dozens of different languages and turn one book into 40 revenue streams. A book is also a great way to drive leads back to a website if you have something else for sale, like consultations or some kind of video series or product or anything else. So it's really possible to take a book and turn it into multiple revenue streams. And you know, the more revenue streams you have, and the you know, the harder you hit it, the more successful that you're going to be. And so anyway, that was kind of that. And it's such a headache to have to do all that stuff. As an author, my brain is completely repelled by the idea of going in and learning how to format a book for Kindle, and then you do something where you transfer it over to a Mobi file, whatever that is. I thought he was a musician. I didn't know he was a new file type.
He was a whale or something.
Yeah, something like that. It's definitely some large sperm whale. But yeah, I mean, there's all those headaches. And then formatting the book for paperback is very tedious, and taking audio files, and going through and editing those things is an incredible chore. And Audible has this very daunting list of specifications, like 30 items long, where your files have to be this and this and this and this in order to be eligible, or to be, you know, compatible with their platform. So Rob is great with dealing with all these technical things, and you know, so we're a good match there. And I just knew that what he was doing was a big help, and we're doing it for lots of authors, and we've gotten so much better at it too since we started. I look back to what we were doing when we first started, and I, you know, want to crawl under the couch or something and hide in shame compared to the level of quality in our book covers and our, you know, our interior print formatting that we do so much better. The first audiobooks that we put out there sounded like I was recording in, you know, a giant tin can or something. It sounded awful, and now the audio quality sounds fantastic. So we've just gone through so many upgrades with experience of having done it, and I think we're really in a place now where we're very professional and able to.
I think
really
that's sort of how.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's sort of how it should be. I was reading that Reid Hoffman quote. Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn founder, who's saying that, to paraphrase, if an entrepreneur is not embarrassed by the first iteration of their product, they waited too long to launch. So it sounds like that was the case with you. But if you don't do that first iteration and improve, you don't get to where you are today, which is great. And I think this, again, just trying to, one of the takeaways from what you're just describing to us is that, you know, yes, you can go and do all of this stuff yourself, you know, and I think when I use Odesk and stuff like that for some of the formatting, to say things like create space for the print-on-demand books, and you can outsource the creation of the audiobooks and so on. But teaming up with somebody like yourself and Archangel Ink is, there's a lot to be said for that, because of, just the stress it takes away, the time it takes away. And yes, you've got an investment up front, but, one of the pros is that you get really high quality stuff from people who focus on that stuff, do it day in, day out. Plus, it gets everything done that much faster. So rather than spending weeks trying to figure it out, you get somebody else who actually takes your book through that process for you and gives you that end product to get that out. And we probably touch on this later, but things like getting the right cover design and getting the right title and testing those things are critical to the number of sales that your book's going to make. Regardless of how good the book is, if you haven't got those things right, your sales are going to suffer. And tell us a little bit about books, because I think this will be useful for people, because it's a really powerful marketing tool. Now, obviously, I know it ties in with the stuff you do with Archangel Ink and with your own books, but I think it'd be very useful for people to understand how it works when they're thinking about marketing their own books as well.
Yeah, well, I suffer from frequent delusions, and one delusion that I had is I thought when we started publishing books for people that they were going to have this great success like I had had. And of course, I found out really quickly that that's not the case. One of our first authors that we had did incredibly well, and he's still doing, fantastic. And that gave me more, it supported my delusion. See, anybody can do this. So what we did, we set up a publishing split type of system, and we were keeping 30%. And the author kept 70. So by far the best royalty split that I know of online with Kindle publishing or book publishing in general. It's even, traditional publishers will keep 80% or more of the book royalties that come in from the sale of books, and we're keeping 30. So huge difference there. And right away, I figured out that if somebody didn't have any kind of promotional platform, and we just threw their book up there, that book was doomed. And
yeah.
So we knew that.
And that's a really important point to make, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you can't get at least 100 sales when you launch a book, don't launch a book, unless you just want to practice writing and practice the process. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're very unlikely for your book to ever sell if you can't at least give it a little bit of a launch.
Jump in that, you can. I mean, I'm thinking of Derek Depka, who was also a guest on the summit. His first book, he was saying, was not terribly successful, but he learned a great deal going through that process. But taking the marketing point and the platform, this is not something that's exclusive to self-published authors. It's very much across the board, whether you're with a traditional publisher, whether you're self-publishing. If you're with a traditional publisher, they expect you to kind of do most of your own marketing, unless you're a big name, which by definition, if this is the first time out, you're not going to be a big name yet. So however you publish your book, you've got to focus some time and effort on the marketing and the platform and getting that initial momentum. So
yeah, or at least saving up enough money to pay for that initial momentum. I mean, anything that you can do, that's a huge help. But anyway, we realized that we needed some kind of community resource where we could promote books. And so I took a few lessons from what I'd seen other people do and fused those three methods together into what is Buck Books. Basically doing a combination of what BookBub does, which is promotes daily discounted ebooks, delivery through email. Fusing also what Brian Cohen does, which is get a bunch of authors to lower the price of their books to 99 cents all at the same time. And then also creating an affiliate program and rewarding people for sending traffic over to the site when they do those promotions. And that's been done all over the internet with book bundles, where you take 100 books, lump them together for $29.99 and sell those as a big bundle. The authors that are in those events will promote and send traffic to that event, and then they get a cut of that sale. And that's how those work. So I took those three things, fused them together, and stamped Buck's and Buck Flogging's his je ne sais quoi onto the onto the whole enterprise, and we had instant success. I mean, I think we had 7,000 visitors on our first day, on our first event, which was May 30th of 2014.
So, gosh, you're coming up to, well, it's 11 months today, isn't it? So
11
30th
months.
of April today, yeah. So
That's right.
nearly your birthday.
I know, our 11-month anniversary of Buck Book.
Yeah.
It's a special day.
Yeah. And so, I mean, how does that, so basically what you're doing there is you're getting a group of authors on a similar topic, a similar niche, I guess, to all discount their books on the same day. So you're getting them down to 99 cents. And then they're all promoting. Plus, each time you do this, you're building up your own mailing list so that you have your mailing list, your social media contacts to mail out to promote those books as well. And tell us a little bit, I know because you have tremendous success. I mean, I've participated in one of these as well. You've had tremendous success in getting books, just leapfrogging them up the charts and having multiple books at the, the top of the bestsellers. So tell us a little bit about that, because I think it's a really powerful strategy.
Well, I think reverse economics works really well on Amazon. And what I mean by that is that in traditional economics, when something new is coming out, it's in high demand, you launch it out there at the highest price possible, and after it's been out there for a while and nobody's really all that interested in it anymore, you start to lower the price of it. We see this with electronic devices and stuff like this all the time. People who are dying to have it are going to be the ones that pay a lot, and the people who are kind of indifferent end up waiting and paying a lot less for it. Everything is opposite on Amazon. In order to get people who've never heard of you able to take the leap and make a monetary investment and a time investment into reading your book, you really have to make that listing look like it's a book that they just need to read. So it needs reviews, lots of them, and lots of good ones. It needs a very professional cover. It needs everything about it needs to be very professional. And there's no other way to get there than to start out cheap, get as many downloads as possible, start to get the reviews, start to get a little word of mouth, and then you slowly start creeping up the price as the book listing starts to justify the price in the eyes of the book browser. So that's the general strategy. And because of the way the ranking system works on Amazon, if you drop the price to 99 cents and you get a ton of downloads, you show up really high in the bestseller ranks, because it's not the dollar amount of books that you sell, it's the number of downloads you get at any price. So if you get 100 downloads at 99 cents, or let's say 1,000, and somebody else, a New York Times bestseller, got 999 downloads at $10, you're actually going to be higher up in the bestseller rankings than the person who wrote the New York Times bestseller. When you do that, it has a favorable impact on Amazon's algorithm that lasts for a very long time, sometimes even permanently.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an interesting point. It's a big advantage for us as self-published authors, because as a self-published author, you have complete flexibility over all sorts of things, including your pricing, which a traditionally published author is not going to have, especially if they've got a big publishing house behind them. They're going to have certain prices they want to maintain. It's going to have to go through committee if they're going to make changes and stuff like that. So, being able to just drop the price to 99 cents and, at least for the time being, you get the same weighting for a 99-cent book as a $10 book or a $20 book. Huge advantage for us, I think, as self-published authors.
Sure, we can undercut the price. We don't have to go head to head and compete with New York Times bestsellers and stuff that had, $10,000 editing budgets. We're competing, we're able to undercut that on price. Typically, your indie published title is going to be shorter in length and lower in price. And it seems, it's almost like a book can be defined a little bit differently from how it used to be. It used to be a book had to be a minimum of 200 pages and full-length body of work and all these things, and now it just doesn't have to be that anymore. And I think the users, the readers in today's environment are actually preferring the shorter books. I see this time and time again. The shorter books sell just as well as the longer books. People don't look at a book like, oh, if it's 300 pages, I'm getting more value for this. They're looking at it like, okay, well, it's going to take me 2 weeks to get this information, picking away at it in my spare time, versus a book that's maybe 60 pages where I know I can grab the book, read it in 2 hours, I'm a slow reader. Read it in 2 hours. For me, it's like read it in 100 hours. No, read it in 2 hours and be able to absorb that information and get the information you're looking for. And we can write books about much more targeted topics and really explore really, really small targeted topics in depth in a 50, 60, 70 page book. So anyway, it is interesting, and you can compete. I look at modern Kindle publishing halfway between those 300-page behemoths that used to be published and blog posts. Somewhere in between is a good selling indie fiction or nonfiction title, falling usually in that sort of $2.99 to $3.99 price point.
Yeah. And I mean, I want to pull a couple of points out of that. I think you mentioned that price bracket. Something I've seen, I'm sure you've seen this, is that the Kindle books are very price elastic. So you put very often $2.99 is the sweet point pricing wise, because you hit that 70% royalty bracket. Below that, if you price below that, it's 35%. And but $2.99 is low enough to get lots of sales. But I always say test, because it might be slightly higher, and you want to know where that is. But by doing what you just described, which is having that book that's sort of relatively short, like a long blog post, I guess maybe 20, 30,000 words or something like that, not a full length book, you can be really targeted, and that really helps with the marketing if you can be specific on what you're doing. Also, you have the advantage of you can get more books out faster, and because I absolutely agree with you. I see this as well, which is that there is a trend or an acceptance amongst Kindle book buyers that they're not expecting the full-length book, especially if they're paying $3 for it. And so it's not an issue that your book might only be 20, 30,000 words, as long as it delivers on the promise. I think that's the key thing. It's got to be quality content that delivers.
Sure.
But if it does that,
length is not a reflection on quality at all.
No.
And just from a writer's point of view, it's a lot easier to actually keep the content really high quality, really tight, really organized, flow really well when you're dealing with a 70-page chunk that's 15,000 words to 20,000 words or something like that. It's so much easier to organize that and keep that tight than it is to try to keep a book really well organized and flow like it's supposed to when it's 80,000 words or something along those lines. Because I've written books up to 80,000 words, and I've written books as short as 5,000 or 6,000 words. So there's a tremendous variance in between there. And as anybody will tell you, it's typically the books that are shorter and writing more of them frequently, that's just more economically viable. And the consumer seems to have no problem with these short books either, which is good news for people who are seeing how effective that strategy is.
Yeah, and another thing that I think Amazon is on board with this as well, because they have categories for, short reads, and I think if I remember correctly, they kind of bracketed in the number of hours. It's, like this is a 1 hour read or this is a 2 hour read. And so they have separate lists, bestseller lists for those books. So this is a 2 hour read business book. So Amazon are very much on board with that whole process as well. And they're actually creating ways for people to find that type of book, which is also good.
Yeah. I mean, Amazon, there's no doubt that they love indie published books. Everything that they do is so favorable to indie authors. It's staggering. Obviously, their whole publishing exclusive with them program has many benefits to the indie author. Their books are eligible to be downloaded as part of their Kindle Unlimited program, whereas all these traditionally published books aren't. And every download that you get counts as a sale. And it's pushing up these indie books higher in the bestseller ranks because of that, because of the ranking system that I described earlier and how it works. So I think that they really favor the indie authors, and the indie authors know that publishing short books frequently is more effective than trying to write this 300-page opus and have be a one-hit wonder like that, because that is very, very difficult to do. And we're seeing more and more books just fall off and stop selling after they've been out for 3-6 months or something like that. So it's hard to really have that one big book that just crushes it and continues to crush it for ages. It's very rare to be able to achieve that, no matter who you are.
Yeah, and so one more point I want to make on this, and then maybe we can talk about some other sort of key marketing elements to, get those sales. But by having multiple books and being able to get them out faster because they're shorter, you get that cross promotion effect, or if you can build that into the book marketing, so you reference your other books. Plus, they're likely to show up on in the also bought sections. And we know that if somebody buys one of your books and they enjoy it, they're way more likely, maybe 8, 10, 12 times more likely to buy another of your books than somebody who's never bought one before. So it's another great way of, there's almost no better way of selling more books than to write more books and to cross promote them. And obviously you want to tick the marketing boxes as well, make sure people can find them and all of those good things. But perhaps we can touch on some of that as well. So let's maybe give us some of your top tips on successful book marketing.
Well, let's just talk. I should have said this early on, but we're really talking about nonfiction here. Fiction is a different animal, and one that I'm less familiar with than I would like to be. But as far as nonfiction is concerned, most people are, they're writing about a specific topic. So, for example, I used to write about health and nutrition related things, and in that niche, it's not just about selling, your book and that's it. There's usually a lot of other things involved. You can sell other programs that people are doing, promoting book bundles and summits and things like that, and getting an affiliate share of the revenue that's generated from people you send over there. You have the ability to do consultations often, or coaching programs, or mentorship programs, or any kind of sort of high ticket type of services there. So when I think about nonfiction, honestly, one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making is that they ignore all those opportunities there, and they focus on just trying to write books.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And it is fun to write books and only write books and not have to worry about all that other stuff. But the problem is that the other stuff is so helpful at making you more successful as an author. You get a chance to garner an audience. You get a chance to build relationships with key players in your industry. So you get a chance to do a favor for somebody who has a blog or website, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 likes on Facebook and so forth. You build a good relationship with that person by promoting their product or telling people about them to your Facebook audience or to your email subscriber list. You start to be able to do favors for people, they do favors for you, and you start to grow quickly and really benefit from that. When it comes time to launch a book, not only do you have your own audience set up, but you also have a ton of allies that you've created with audiences specifically of people who would be interested in what you're writing about. And they'll be your friends and they'll go out there and help you promote that. So there's just so many marketing advantages when you put all the pieces of the puzzle together and you treat your book as just an extension of your business, not the business, but just an extension of the business. You let the book help the business, you let the business help the book, and you create a nice circular system where everything that you do is mutually beneficial. And that's the biggest mistake that I'm seeing authors make, is they're just jumping right into writing books. And they probably should be jumping right into building a website and building relationships with other people in their space and going through that process and then writing a book. Or maybe they write one book to go with the business, and once everything is up and running, then they start writing 2, 3, 4, 5 books at a time once they have that audience. But it's important to look at the whole picture and not try to carve your own tiny little path with Kindle only. There's so much more out there to take advantage of. Let me just give you just one real example.
Yeah.
One of our authors, the one that's most successful out of all the ones that we have at Archangel Ink, is Ari Whitten. And Ari Whitten has written a couple of great books. They've done very well. They still continue to do well. And Ari has, I think it's a $159 video product back on his website. And he has another product that he's introduced that's a little bit lower price point. For a while, he was doing some coaching sessions until I think he got all booked up and wasn't able to do anymore. So he has all these things for sale back on his website. And what he noticed is that every time his book got downloaded, the first one that he put out there, he's making about $2 or $3 back on his website per download.
Mm-hmm.
Think about what that does. Most authors, if you have a 99-cent book out there, you have 35 cents that you can spend on advertising, and that's it. If you spend 36 cents to sell a book that you're only getting 35 cents of royalties on, you're losing money. So there's just nobody could sell a 99-cent book for 35 cents. There's just no way to do that. You can't advertise, you can't pay people to do anything, you have no budget for that. And what he's found is that he has a $3 budget to sell a $1 book, and he can be profitable spending $3 on marketing to sell a $1 book. I mean, the advantages there are so huge that he can do Amazon advertising. He's paid people to run Facebook ads. He's spent ungodly amount of money with Epic Book Launch to help him sell more copies of his book, and he's done other things too. I mean, when you have that component, that piece of the puzzle, you can outcompete other Kindle authors with what you're doing, and have a field day.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I'd say a couple of things. One is that I'm struggling to think of any of the guests who've been on the Self-Publishing Summit who don't have some kind of back-end product or service. And I'm including fiction authors as well, because it's been predominantly non-fiction, but we've had fiction writers as well. And even as I think I know that your focus is on non-fiction, but I think most of what we're talking about here is transferable to both. And if you're listening to this and you're a fiction author, tune into this. Don't think that because you're a fiction author it doesn't apply. You still want to be building, finding a way to build that list. I mean, a consistent theme throughout the summit, and something I've been teaching for a long time, is you've got to build the email list. You've got to build the emails. One, because it's going to help you sell more books. But I'm just trying to think of something, for example, and this could be non-fiction or fiction, but let's say you're a fiction author, you could offer somebody a short story or something supplemental to the main book, some bonus content for opting in, get them on the list, build a relationship with them, send them some cool stuff, and maybe send them to your audiobook. If you've got an audio version of your book on Amazon, ACX, Audible, Amazon's audiobook program, not only do they tend to be priced much higher, so you get more royalties, but if that person, Amazon have this $50 bounty. So if you introduce somebody to the Audible program and the first book they buy is your book, you get a $50 bonus. Well, whether you're a fiction author or a non-fiction author, you start selling, instead of making $2 for a book and then that's the end of it, you start building a relationship with somebody and then sending them across the audiobook. You start making $50 here, $50 there. Even if you don't have a product, that's going to add up quite rapidly.
Oh yeah, I had just in bounties alone, I think at peak I was probably at least 15% of my total author income was from the bounties from Audible. So there's a lot of opportunities like that. But again, you brought up a good point about getting email subscribers. Obviously, that's what it's all about. And email subscribers are great because you can communicate with them on your terms. They may have forgotten about you, but you can deliver something right to their inbox and say, hey, remember me? I just wrote a new book. Check it out. If you look at just the internet business as a whole, what it boils down to is how much does it cost to get a subscriber, either in your time spent or money that you pay to acquire that subscriber. And number two, how much money do you make off of that subscriber before they unsubscribe? And this is where internet businesses and businesses in general live and die. And you have to figure out, if you're just writing a Kindle book every few months and you're putting it out there at 99 cents to your subscribers, how much money are you really making off of that subscriber? Not enough to justify the time spent acquiring them, and certainly not enough to justify an advertising campaign or something where you're dropping money to get these subscribers. But if you get, like you said, the $50 bounties, and maybe you've got some kind of coaching program or one-on-one live sessions that you do on the side. Maybe you've got a video course or something educational to offer people, or maybe you are just sending out a couple of emails a week telling people about other great stuff on the internet, where you're getting an affiliate cut. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do to better help make a little bit of money off those subscribers. And if you're making $3, $4, $5, $6 off of that subscriber as opposed to 50 cents, it opens up a whole new world with which to do advertising campaigns to get subscribers, to do a lot of testing, to get a web developer, to do all kinds of things. So to really get to that point of success, you have to figure out a way to create a successful, sustainable business where the numbers line up. And it's not that hard to do. It doesn't take that much time if you're just focused on the right thing and you do it. There's nothing to it but to do it. It's really true. But obviously a lot of people get off course, so they just don't want to hear all that stuff because it just makes them anxious. Oh, I don't know how to do that stuff. And it gives me a headache. And I could never do that. And that's how I was. And I can relate to that. Like I said, I'm the accidental entrepreneur. I couldn't even figure out how to upload an image into a blog post for 2 years. But if you take a little time to learn all that stuff and get in there and actually do it, you'll find that it's not hard. It's not any more difficult than learning how to put gas in your car. As soon as you go through and actually start learning those tactics and then apply them, and then you can create a wildly successful business, not just writing books, but with books as a part of your viable strategy that you've put together. So anyway.
Yeah. And I think, what you're really talking about there is learning the skills to get your business and thinking of it, I'll start that again, as a business, as opposed to just a book. You already mentioned that. But then honing your skills to get it to that tipping point where, at that point when the money starts to come in, you can scale, you can get the help, you can outsource stuff or bring people in and really build it up. And it is worth persevering. If you have that dream of having a lifestyle business, or being able to write for a living as an author, these are some of the things that I think, unless you're very lucky or you really knock it out of the park the first time, for the vast majority of people, this is what you have to go through to learn these skills, to be able to market the book and develop the business side.
Sure. And those skills, if you develop those skills in and of themselves are extremely valuable. It's obvious that more and more people are going to be earning their living online in the future. And to be current with online business, to understand how it works, to start becoming proficient, to start your education, it might seem like you're already too late, because here we are, 20 years into the internet and you haven't really started yet. But it's not too late. We're still obviously in the beginning stages of where we're headed. And to get in there and to start to get fluent in internet business and how things work and what the heck is a split test and what is a funnel, and to sort of learn these things, these basic things, those are going to be huge assets moving forward. And even if you don't feel like writing or you get tired of it like I did, you can still take the skills and knowledge that you learned and immediately turn that into another successful business about whatever it is you're excited about today. I go through phases. I get excited about this, and then I'm not excited anymore, and I get really excited, and then I'm not excited anymore. But because I built the tools and the skill set and the knowledge by just having jumped in there and done it for a while, I can create new businesses on the internet on a dime and be very successful right away. And I'm very passionate about people getting on the internet and starting to learn how all this stuff is done. It seems like it's some kind of, unknowable, unlearnable code that only a certain small percentage are able to figure out. But it's not like that at all. It's very simple.
You got to start somewhere. I mean, I can look back. I'm smiling because I'm thinking back to about 6 years ago when I left the world of corporate law and became an entrepreneur. I'd made that commitment, but I knew nothing. I knew nothing about business. I knew nothing really about being an entrepreneur apart from some sort of vague notions of what it was. I knew nothing about marketing. But one of the things, I knew that I needed to learn about marketing if I was going to be successful. As I learned about marketing, I actually fell in love with that process. I've always loved to write. And in 2012, so I've been in business for I guess 3-4 years by that stage, or 3.5 years. I discovered Kindle Direct Publishing, and hence, Crush It with Kindle and the Self Publishing Summit and the things that have spun off from that. But it's definitely been this journey of evolving. And I think of what I know today compared to what I knew 6 years ago. And it's just like I'm a totally different person. So, it's a very exciting journey. And like you, I'm very passionate about, first of all, just the opportunities we have online, whether they be opportunities to get published and maybe to leverage that self-publishing to, mid-tier publishing or a mainstream publisher, if that's what you want to do. Or a lot of people are just purely going down the self-publishing road. Some authors are even taking their books away from traditional publishers to re-self-publish them because they have more control, they get better royalties and all that sort of stuff. But also all the things like you're just talking about there, Matt, which, the skill set that you develop, you never know where that's going to take you. So particularly if you're listening to this and you're new to this online marketing area and you're new to self-publishing, I can't recommend it enough. Pick it up and run with it and see where it takes you.
Yeah, I mean that's really it. It's building skills and knowledge in an area where you're building assets that you can use and apply towards just about any way of making money or spreading the word about something you're passionate about or whatever it is that you're into. It is like starting your university education, and if you avoid it and you don't do it, then you're going to be back there with all those college grads trying to wonder out how to make money 10, 20 years from now, where the people who just jumped online and started figuring it out, made their first $100 and got hooked. Those are the people who are going to be wildly successful and already are in our new modern era that we find ourselves in. And anyway.
And I think another thing that you just jogged my mind there is that first dollar, that's the hardest one. If you can do that, that's the proof of concept, and you can then scale up and fine tune and get better numbers, get a high conversion rate, get the advertising costs down, all the different things that go into building a successful online business. But you got to start and prove to yourself that, get that first dollar and then build from there. So.
Yeah, my first, I have a couple of things to share. One is that a mentor of mine, he told me flat out, I told him, I was all excited. Hey, I finally did it. I'm making like $3,000 a month, and, I'm not going to have to go to work anymore or anything like that. Well, he told a story about what he did, and he dropped out of the military to start a business online. I think he read 4-Hour Work Week or something. But we all read that book and had delusions of grandeur immediately. But he dropped out of the military, and he gave himself 6 months to get this business up and running, and he just poured everything into it and poured everything on the line. All of his savings, his everything. And at the end of 6 months, he was making $100 a day, and he referred to that as a point where he really knew that he wasn't going to, quote, ever have to, go to work again. So that's all it took. And he turned that into a multi-million-dollar empire. And what was funny about all this is that he was selling, how to become this multi-millionaire, this guy with, sort of poor education, not the smartest guy I've ever met, dropped out of the military to do all these things. How did he do all this? What was his secret? Well, he was selling a mole removal cream. I mean, when I saw that this guy was making 6 figures monthly selling a mole removal cream that he formulated in his own basement, that really made an impression on me. And he told me, he used a similar statement like you made. He said, it's harder to go from $0 to $3,000 a month than it is to go from $3,000 a month to $30,000 a month.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting too. That really perked my ears up and got me interested. And I found that it is pretty equivalent. Going from 0 to 3 a month and going from 3 to 30 is they're very, very equivalent in terms of the difficulty there. So anyways, it is hard to reach that first important ledge, that first point where you really feel like you've gotten to that spot. But from there, it's pretty much easy peasy, I think.
And that's it. If you can do 100, you can do 1,000. If you can do 1,000, you can do 10,000 and so on. And I think, once you've got that initial momentum, by the time you're at sort of the $3,000 a month mark, you've got so much stuff figured out that it's, you don't have to make that many tweaks to really start scaling that. And that is, let's touch on that as well, the scaling with both with online business and with publishing online. It's beautiful because it's so scalable, and that's another huge advantage. And that's one of the reasons why it's as easy or even easier to go from 3,000 to 30,000 as it is to get to that first 3,000.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my first year online, I made about 6,000, and it tripled the following year, and then it doubled pretty much every year after that. And then I went through sort of a regrouping phase, which I talked about, where I stopped doing what I was doing and started a couple new things. And I'm already caught back up again, and I'm on that pace of doubling, if not more, again. So, it's just it's a lot of fun, and hopefully your summit that you put together inspires a lot of people to take that leap and earn that first dollar. That's really all it takes to get hooked. And once you're hooked, you realize that there's this whole new world out there waiting for you that's so much easier than the quote real world to be successful.
And it can be lots of fun too.
So much more fun because because you get to do your own thing. Everything is your own unique expression. Every hour, every dollar that you spend, it's all being reinvested back into you and your skills and your toolbox. Anyway, it's a lot of fun, and thanks for putting the summit together, because I know it's gonna inspire a lot of people to take that leap.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I think conversations like the one that we are having are important for people. Whether you're just starting out, whether you're part way through and struggling. I mean, because so often, and I know this from personal experience, because I've studied lots of the quote unquote gurus who are doing millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars a year, and learn tons and tons of stuff from them. But especially when you're beginning, you look at these people and they're so far ahead of you. You think, well, you sort of see the finished article, not necessarily where they were 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they were just starting out and they knew nothing. So, and it's good to have conversations like this, and that like in your first year you only made $6,000 and so on, but you've been able to scale that, and it's still growing, which is great. So we're coming up to the hour, Matt, but we don't have to. There's no hard and fast cutoff here. So are there any other sort of big things in terms of the book marketing that you want to mention to us, or that you'd recommend that people implement with their own books?
Well, I don't want this to sound like a shameless pitch, because it's really not. And in fact, my company that I started with Rob, Archangel, that is his company. If you use Archangel Ink, I make precisely $0 from that. So in saying that, I really think if you're thinking about doing this, and you're thinking about publishing some books, it's really important that you team up with an entity that has some experience. And that's hard for some people to do. I'm always been, just kind of a hopeless egomaniac, and I've been always so reluctant to take advice from somebody else, because, I don't need advice from somebody else.
Like a lot of entrepreneurs.
I'm buck flogging, baby. I got a handle on this. So
yeah.
We've done over 100 book covers. We've published over 100 books. We've been doing this for years. We've been doing online business since 2007. We've formatted 100 books for Kindle and CreateSpace. We have this whole team of very experienced, specialized people who were already experienced at doing what they do before we built this team, and have built even more experience and quality experience at that while they're doing that. If you're thinking about publishing some books, I would really, really seriously think about going to Archangel Ink and taking advantage of the expertise that they deliver at virtually no cost. In fact, you can even get into a royalty split, and there's a little deposit that you have to pay to sort of show us that you're serious and to keep Archangel Ink from going into debt. But we really love to help people and help people be successful. It's really fun for us. There's plenty of other things that we could have done, but we chose to do this because we wanted to. And once you're understand the dynamics of being successful on the internet, there's no reason to ever do anything that you don't want to do, because you can be successful doing what you do want to do and what you love. And I don't know, I guess that's my pitch for going over there and letting us help you help yourself to be more successful more quickly. Take advantage of the fact that you have access to the second largest book promotion entity in the world at Buck Books when it comes time to publish your book. And you know, let's hang out and be friends and have a successful go at it.
And I think, you know, we've got a lot of takeaways from this, but I think one of the, perhaps the single biggest or the single most important takeaway is that thing that you just touched upon, is getting into this process and using these online opportunities and the self-publishing opportunities that we have to build a lifestyle business around your publishing. Do something that you love, do something that you're passionate about. And you know, whether you do it with Archangel Ink or not, but just, you know, just, we have a golden opportunity. The opportunity we have today as authors and as entrepreneurs, there's been nothing like it in history. This is, you know, and it's just, it gets better all the time. There are more and more tools and more ways of reaching people. There are literally billions of people coming online in the next few years, which is, you know, we touched on multiple translations earlier. It's so huge markets that don't even exist yet, that will be coming on stream. So very exciting times. Matt, give us the websites and where people can go to follow up with you, with Archangel Ink, with Buck Books, and so on.
Sure, it's Archangel Ink, .com, and it's buckbooks.net. And those are the two sites I have going now. And in just a couple of weeks, I'll be launching quittin6.com, which is going to be a website helping people to figure out how to do exactly what we're talking about. Get online, start doing some things, and be able to make enough income to be able to quit their jobs in 6 months. And so that'll be coming up here. We're hoping to launch May 15th, so just right around the corner. So anyway, that's me, and where you can find me and all that good stuff.
Very soon. And Quit-in6, is that 6 the number or 6 the numeral? Or the...
Yeah, it's quit, the letter in, and the number 6.com. And it's not live yet, but we should be taking it live in just a couple weeks. And I can't wait. I got a bunch of books I'm writing now. I'm going to release 4 buck flogging books over the summer to go with that, and all those books will be free. And it's going to be a really fun time, and I can't wait for the summer. It's I've never been so excited about anything that I've been doing than this. I haven't slept in weeks. So, anyway,
good. Well, that's an exciting project, and I look forward to seeing that go live very soon. So, Matt,
hey, thanks, John.
Talking to you. Thank you so much for being part of the Self-Publishing Summit, and thank you for giving us so many really good insights. And I hope people got some inspiration from that and want to take their business and their publishing to the next level.
Hey, thanks a lot, John. Thanks a lot for the summit. Fantastic stuff, and always good to catch up with you, brother. I'll be speaking to you again in the future many times, I'm sure.
Good to speak with you, Matt. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.